quick disclaimer, right? I'm not going to read it all, but obviously, we're not your doctors and we're not your physicians. So please consult with your health practitioners, your physicians of the recommendations and suggestions we'll be making throughout this. And first, I wanted to kind of go over the summer into the fall issues that we covered quite a bit during the cleanse time. And pre cleanse, we really addressed it and why it's so important to do the cleanse after equinox so that you don't carry the symptoms of congestion and toxic accumulation into the fall season, because that's going to fuel into your immune issues. Maybe, more inflammatory conditions can carry forward, right? We do not want to carry the summer congestions and other toxic symptoms into the fall. This is why the transitional time is the most important time. Transitional time is when we focus on cleaning up our system, cleaning up our homes, cleaning up our minds, and in our practices, our lifestyle choices, and things like that too. And so when you're going into fall, into winter, this is also the transitional time. And this is kind of like a midway point between coming into the fall and then transitioning into the winter. So this is a really good time. Thanksgiving is around this time is a great time to revisit, connect with yourself. Have I done enough to support my body during the fall so I don't take that same ama, which is the toxic elements, or maybe inflammatory conditions in your body into the winter? Because then what it does is that winter, some of these conditions will kind of set in, starts to get really grounded and then starts to root in. And that's what's going to feed into your spring, right? So this is really important that we start to take care of ourselves right now. And the unfortunate thing in some ways is that this is our holiday season, right? All across the globe. Everybody's celebrating slowly one thing or another. This is the celebration time. Some of us started celebrating like a month before Halloween. So we're already kind of somewhat destroying our bodies here and there. So be very, very careful of what you're going to be doing. Choices matter. What you do in the transitional time will feed into the winter, and then how you feel in the spring will depend on what you do today. And, this is a very delicate immune time because it's a very kind of a delicate time in the weather too, right? The temperature isn't really stable. You could go from like really nice, crisp fall weather to windy, like we're having in Colorado today, and the snowstorm can kick in. There's just a lot of different changes happening, rain turning into snow, and then also the indoor spaces completely changes. So you've been using AC throughout the summer months, and maybe you didn't clean out your ducts or you didn't clean the AC units. Then whatever moisture that got accumulated in there, the mold is there. A lot of times the actually air conditioning and in your HVAC systems can have a lot of mold, and that can actually dry up in a winter furnace, and then that can blow to your house. So this is a very important time that you clean out some of your toxic elements in your house as well. And transitionally, we are releasing things, we're letting go of things. And a lot of like kind of a Vata season is coming, right? Vata season is the Ayurvedic, if you look at through the Ayurvedic lens, this is the time when seasonally we're starting to go into cold, dry lightness. So it's not very heavy, because think about the leaves are drying up and blowing all over, right? That's very light and rough. So like rough skin, rough hair. Maybe some of you, including myself, are noticing maybe hair is starting to fall a little bit more. Loss of hair is increasing this time of the year. That's a seasonal hair loss that's coming up. Dry skin, that's, you can kind of scratch it and then you could create flakiness. All these things are starting to happen too. So it's naturally happening. I don't think we need to be crazy concerned about it, but you don't want to fuel that dryness and coldness and the windiness inside. Okay. And one of the things that this time of the year, the seasonal changes, we are in the Vata season, like I said. So it's the dryness in the body will show up, especially in the organs of your large intestine and your lungs. They can really, really dry out. But the dryness doesn't mean that that's just dry cough, but the dryness can actually create more mucus production as well, because your body's going to try to create moisture. And especially if there's certain things like virus that you picked up, then your body's going to coat that in mucus. So you might be having some mucusy cough, sinus issues starting to come in. But the lungs are an energy vortex for you. This is a very central part of who you are that connects to heaven and earth. And, vata emotionally in the lungs area, this lungs are not just grief and sadness, everyone. It's a deep-seated regrets and betrayals that you've experienced from your childhood, maybe your last marriage, maybe a relationship that just did not quite work out, those betrayals that they experienced. Some of these past emotions are going to resurface around this time along with your cough. Okay. And then because of the wind inside, this windy dryness, and the outside, emotions can get stirred up and displaced right now. So, vata season can be kind of chaotic. It's really hard to focus on one thing. Chris and I were talking about this too. It's really hard to kind of focus in on something. So I have some recommendations for you a little bit later how to support this time of the year, this transitional time, so that you don't take this chaotic mind into the winter, because then that's going to become kind of a part of your pattern. And you can take that into the spring and that will manifest into something completely different. Chaos can be a difficult thing to address in the spring months if you don't address them right now. So, and one of the things I would love for all of you to check out is check out my lung retreat program that I did. I would say that's one of my top 3 programs that I've ever taught in my course of work, is this 3-day lung retreat program where we went to mind, body, spirit. We did movements on the ground. We did breathing techniques. We went into supplements. We went in deeply into 3 lobes of emotions of the lungs are much deeper than the grief and sadness. So that's something that I would love for you to check it out if you've never done that. And if you've done it, this is the best time to review that program. And if you're already noticing mucus buildup or phlegm, summer ama, so summer toxin, is trapped in your system. So use products like Zorex products we'll talk about shortly here, but it's called KI caps. It's a iodine based supplements that can be really good because iodine KI caps can be great for breaking the thick phlegm and mucus. And so a lot of people don't know how to break the thick mucus. They're like, I don't know how to get rid of this thing. I just had a client that come in and talk to me about just she's having all this phlegmy things. And I said, you just need this iodine KI caps. And I gave her a couple of supplements. One was a thyroid support. And another thing that I will talk about is called SOS. And I actually had her take antihistamine supplements as well from Zorex. And then she texted me, and 3 days later, she said, within 3 days, everything is done. I don't feel horrible. She was having such energy dip that she didn't know what to do. The iodine is going to be really important for breaking some of that. So it can really turn things around within like 72 hours if you put the right combination of things. And I'm going to hand it over to berberine for a moment with you, Chris.
Sure. So we'll get back to the KI caps, the potassium iodide, in just a little bit here. But one of the really helpful supplements to look at for supporting your winter health is berberine, and it's always in the form of berberine HCl, just because that's the way that our body best absorbs it. And this is something that has been known about for thousands of years. It's from a root and has a bright yellow color. So we've seen this both in Chinese and Ayurvedic traditions for, as I said, thousands of years. And this is something that has a number of functions. It's probably best known for supporting blood sugar, which we'll talk about, but also for supporting the gut functions, particularly because it's really helpful when you're dealing with bacterial overgrowth or yeast or fungus issues or parasites. Berberine really has a strong effect on all of those. And when it comes to blood sugar levels, what we've seen is that berberine actually supports normal blood sugar levels and reduces A1C, even in people who are not diabetic, but also for people who have been diagnosed diabetic. And there have been clinical studies done on this that have shown that actually berberine is as effective as the drug metformin, which is what most people on diabetes or pre-diabetic even are starting to be prescribed very regularly. And there aren't any known side effects. So berberine is a very natural support for blood sugar balance and regulation. And as I mentioned before, it's antibiotic, so it works against the bacterial overgrowth, and it also supports heart function. So this is something that you might want to consider, and many of these products are synergistic with each other. So that means they have good working partnerships where the nutrients in one are very supportive of the nutrients in another. And in this case, CGF, which is the complete glucose formula from Zorex International that we love, and that's actually one of our most recommended supplements And we will also touch on that a little bit later, but you can take these together and really optimize those effects across the board for all of these functions that we just mentioned here today.
Let's
Yeah.
go into the next one. Okay. Is that okay, Chris?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, the reason why we brought up the berberine is because it's really helpful for your large intestine, right? However, it's so supportive of your blood sugar, like Chris said. But remember that the lungs and large intestine, they support one another. So you can't just address lungs without addressing a large intestine. But vice versa, when you address your large intestine, that can help your lungs as well. So they are partners. Okay. So that's very important to remember, and this is the season for that. Okay, and then another thing about one thing that you really want to focus on this time, that if you are still eating cold salads for lunch, please stop doing that, right? Because we're not in that season in northern hemisphere, because this is the time that we're starting to get, like I said, cold, windy, and dry. So you want to start to eat things that are a little bit more warmer. So fully transition into warm, cooked, higher in nutrients foods. So it could be warm soups with the bone broth, maybe some protein in it, root vegetables. Things are more seasonal, and avoid things that are raw, cold, and dry. And so dry cereal to start, I mean, you should never eat cereal anyway in the morning, but dry foods are really, really cold making for your system. And that's going to feed into your immune system, and that's going to cause you to have kind of a prolonged cold symptoms and flu seasons that can last longer. So start switching your foods, and we can benefit from warming and grounding foods and herbs that nourish the body. And herbs are, kind of depends on what you can tolerate, but think of it as like a Thanksgiving time herbs, right? So it could be cinnamon, clove, but also like things like ginger and turmeric can be good here as well, can be kind of warming. But don't overdo too much turmeric and I would say ginger, because they can be a little bit heat producing. And right now we're still transitioning, so that heat can fuel into the summer energy, which is the pitta energy, the fiery energy. Okay. And winter squash, root vegetables, making your own homemade ghee. We always do this. And then we let the moon shine on our ghee. Those can be great. Using quercetin, which is also the supplement from Zorex, is a powerful antioxidant and immune support. So you may want to look into quercetin. I've done a video on that too, so you can watch it on the supplement page that it's called store. So masamicovey.com, go under store and go scroll down to quercetin. Okay,
And
and then
Masami, can I jump in really quick?
Mhm.
First of all, everyone, I put that link in the chat for you. So if you want to click on the store and check that out while we're talking about these so that you have a little bit more insight into how to find them, that's there for you.
All right, so yes, stop eating the salads and then switch it over to the warm foods, okay? And I, really think that this is such a great time, besides like quercetin and things like that. Good to use warm heating pads, that you can put it in a microwave. That is the only time I ever use a microwave. People say, do you have a microwave? Yes, because I heat my microwavable heating pad. Okay. And I also love the old fashioned water bottles, one of those things that I used to use as a kid. I have the old fashioned ones. I love it. I love having kind of like the water in there, the swishes around, and it stays warm in a very natural way for into the morning. That's a great thing to do, and then benefit from heaviness, right? So vata is like a windy and not blow up, but blow in the wind kind of a thing. So something that's like heavy and grounding and stabilizing for you is great. That's why eating things like a ghee is really good, but also doing things like weighted blankets. This is really good. Get yourself nice warm wool blankets that's a little heavier instead of always like a light fluffy comforter. Putting something weighted, that can be really great for vascular system, but your lymphatic system, because the lymphatic system can get a little congested and sluggish this time of the year. So something like that would be great. Covering your wrists, ankles, and neck. Turtlenecks, fabulous. This is why you will see me wearing turtlenecks a lot this time of the year. Okay, so let's do a little bit of not movements, but just something that we can do together. Okay, so number one, during this transitional time, fall into winter, this is a great time to do the mountain pose, so Tadasana in yoga. So it's like hip width apart, right? Hip width apart for most of us is just two fists put together between your feet. Okay, between your feet, just two fists. That's the stance that you want to hold, and your arms next to you, palms can be out. that can promote a little bit more of the opening of the lungs. So mountain pose is great. And let's everybody just take a nice breath in and out a couple of times. As you begin to breathe out, make that sound ah. Okay. And shoulders can maybe come down and go ah. And it's really that word awe, isn't it? Like you're in awe with some things. You're in awe with life. You're just full of awe and wonder, you know? So that's what you're experiencing through that sound. Ah. And you could try it with the different tones. Ah, could be good. Ah, will be okay too. Okay. So depending on which direction you want to take it, from the, upper chakras to lower, then I would just go ah. And if you want to go from down to up, you can go ah, whatever you want to do with that sounds. Okay. So just having these sounds incorporated into your mountain pose can be a wonderful practice to do during the vata, during the fall, into the winter, this transitional time. Because the mountain pose is actually one of the hardest things for vata oriented people to do. Okay. And I have a lot of vata in me. I have a pitta in me too, but I have a ton of vata, that windy, drying kind of I'm a thin person as well. So I get kind of dried up and my mind can go into all kinds of directions. So doing the mountain pose, also shavasana at the end, so just lying flat, the corpse pose can be really great too. Okay. So let's go into the immune system a little bit here. And this is when we want to ask this question, can we really boost our immune system? And really, should we be so focused on boosting? Okay. This is a very important question to actually ask. So many health influencers and social media posts push for life hacks and recommendations that boost your immune system. They seem to think that the Goldilocks philosophy of just right is overrated. And, this is why everybody's talking about how do we biohack your life? Biohack this, biohack that, and elevate your immune system and fend off illness. And, these are super, super popular, right? Just as like almost like everything in life, isn't it? We use the same philosophy for everything. It's like if one thing is good for you, then maybe take 1,000 of those. We've done that with the vitamin C, right? I mean, we've done a crazy job with the vitamin C, everyone. I am not a fan of super dosing on vitamin C. I have actually worked with a couple of clients that have been super dosing on vitamin C, and they are a wreck, okay? Because vitamin C is highly oxalic. Okay, so oxalic acid will increase. You can have lots of aches and pains. Your bones are going to hurt if you overdo vitamin C. I don't have the time to go into it, but overdoing it, is that really, really what we need to be doing? Like, as I am in the postmenopause, more and more, I appreciate the middle way so much more than ever before. It's no longer just some philosophy of Zen. It's really something that I come back to over and over. Okay, so it's all about balance, everyone, and when it comes to immune system. So both too strong and too weak of an immune response can lead to illness. So the Goldilocks philosophy of just right is the way to go. So all about balance, okay? So it's a balance that is very delicate and dynamic, and it's seasonal. So how you balance your immune system in the summertime is very different than how you balance your immune system in the springtime or the transitional time that we're in right now. For instance, like in the summertime, you don't need to be going crazy boosting your immune system. Okay, because there's a natural tendency for our immune systems to be stronger in the summertime due to the sun exposures as well. So, we just can't be boosting and boosting and boosting. Okay, so please get out of that mindset. And when immune cells become overactive, your immune system itself can cause disease. Okay, so too much of an immune reaction could result in allergies, autoimmune disorders, chronic inflammation. So if you're starting to have kind of a seasonal allergies kick in, well, you might have overdone too much immune boosting things as well. So you want to look at antihistamine formula, AHF, from Zorex, that is on our store page as well. And too little of an immune reaction could result in infection, so frequent cold and viral infections, chronic cold, other chronic conditions too. So it's really about the thermostat, right? So turning it up too high results in overactive and uncontrolled inflammation. and turning it down too low results in a failure to respond to infection and disease. So it's really about the balance, and signs of imbalance would be frequent colds or flu. And this also is associated with a low functioning thyroid. Okay. So if you're one of those people that get sick often, you need to look at your thyroid. And I have some recommendations coming up in the next couple of slides. So stay tuned to that. And signs of balance. I'm sorry. So other things are here like frequent infections and chronic runny nose and drippy nose, chronic mucus production, cough, skin issues. This is the big one I see a lot when people have rashes or itchiness or dermatitis, cysts, boils, things that just show up on the skin. And if you touch it and you scratch it, it just turns red. And like you could see the scratch marks and they all turn red. I mean, that's kind of a histamine reactions going on too, but there's some sort of a imbalance going on in your immune system if that's the case. So if the immune system is balanced, then here's an important point right here, everyone. You will get sick 1 to 2 times per year. Okay. So when I work with a client and the client says, "Oh, my husband never gets sick," but I do. And I say to them, well, that's too bad that your husband never gets sick because that's not a good sign. That means that that person doesn't have enough strong enough immune system to fight off things. So you need to have sometimes that you can get sick. This is a sign of healthy immune system because body knows and can detoxify itself. That's why you get sick 1 to 2 times per year. Okay. Usually for us, it's about, yeah, one, maybe maximum 2 times. And when it does happen, I welcome it so much. And then if the fever comes in, I never lower my fever. I just let my fever come up and run up. And, I actually, yeah, it's no fun. But inside of me, I know that this is exactly the detoxification that I needed to be going through. So, this is important that you do get sick once in a while because this is how you can keep the latent infections under control. So everybody's got latent infections, everyone. And just know that, okay? If you've had a history of Epstein-Barr, mono, or herpes, shingles, chronic fatigue, hepatitis, COVID, or other viral expressions and conditions and other things, okay? These infections are an indication that the immune system in the past has been compromised. And many of these diseases are latent in the body and require vigilant immune system to keep them under control. Okay, this puts extra stress on an already compromised immune system. You have to pay closer attention to your overall health to keep these infections inactive. So inactive is the key. You will never get rid of these things. Okay, I've had spiritual communities, people ask me, several people, I know ways to get rid of your herpes for the rest of your life, or I know how to get rid of your, Epstein-Barr. And I'm like, I don't believe that. Maybe that is my limitation, but what I believe is that you have the abilities, you can actually keep them inactive and within the balanced system. So that's what I think. And let's go into the thyroid because I've mentioned that if you get frequent colds and flu, that's underactive thyroid that could be caused also. So this is one of the things that I really like talking about. And then I talked about this during my moon menopause program, but one of my friends and a really awesome menopause specialist doctor, Dr. Sharon Stills, said to me, she said, just about everyone I see in my clinic has thyroid issues, which is hypothyroid. She said, it's the most underdiagnosed condition I see. And when she said that to me, I was like, I knew it. I could sense it. I was feeling it. And I started to help my thyroid. I wasn't going to wait till the blood test showed me. And the fact is, TSH doesn't tell you anything, everyone. Okay. That's another day of conversation. But basically, if you have a thyroid issues that you already do have, make sure that you incorporate some of these foods and avoid the gluten and ultra processed foods, and especially cold foods. So like a lot of salads and dried up foods, those can really aggravate the thyroid. And these are the couple of the supplements that I really, really like taking, and I take them for my thyroid. So the first one is literally called the thyroid, and this is the bovine thyroid glands. So I do take them. Please watch the video that I did in the masamicovey.com under the store, because I've gone into much, much more detail about how I take it, why I like it. And I'm going to have Chris talk a little bit about the KI caps right now.
KI caps. So KI stands for potassium iodide. So that's the Ki. It's kind of fun that it also sounds like the word for energy in Japanese, which is ki, and which is like chi, but that's a coincidence. So in this case, what we're looking at here with the potassium iodide that's important is that iodine has two main forms that come into our body. And one of them is elemental iodine, which is what our thyroid uses to make thyroid hormone. This one here, the potassium iodide, is actually more specifically what our immune functions use to produce. It actually helps with the thyroid hormone production. Let me come back to that in just a second. But the potassium iodide specifically helps with a number of things. So let me just tell you a few of the things that it does in the body. It is antibacterial. It's anti-neoplastic, so it helps with tumor growth and it's preventive against that for cancers and other such growths. It is anti-parasitic. And that's something Masami's talked about a lot, that if you've traveled, if you've lived in this world for more than just a few years, you have been exposed to parasites and probably still have some in your system. So iodine is very helpful for fighting back against their expression. It's antiviral. It helps increase our pH levels, and it also breaks down mucus. So that's a really important thing when it comes to this winter kind of health support that we're talking about, because so many of us have issues with our airways and our mucosal tissues starting to overproduce mucus as we're exposed to pathogens and our body's having a harder time fighting them. So this list goes on, and I'll just mention a few more of the key ones, but it's very helpful for fibrocystic breast disease, for acne, for prostate problems for men, and also for any kind of ovarian or uterine issues, anything that has to do with that fibrocystic type of condition. So atherosclerosis is another one, depression, cracks on your hands and feet, and even with Hashimoto's, this can be a very helpful support. And I wanted to say one more thing about this KI CAPS product, which is one of the other main ingredients is selenomethionine. So selenomethionine is carrying selenium, which is what our thyroid needs to produce the active form, T3. And that's what we need to make sure that our thyroid is actually sending the signal out to the cells of the body to dial up or dial down our energy levels as needed. And so one last thing I want to say about this KI caps is that this is going to provide a very strong, solid dose of iodine. In the United States, our daily recommended dose is tiny. It's so small, and it's based on science from decades ago, which assumed that all other things being equal, our bodies didn't need more than just a trace amount of iodine. But it's virtually gone from our food system here because of how food production is done these days. It's been replaced with things like bromine, okay, in breads and other kinds of baked goods where we used to get iodine, iodized salt, iodized flour, but now that's largely gone. So we get very little in our diet. And the amount that's in this is many times higher than the recommended daily amount, but it's been proven through studies in Japan and Korea, where they consume a lot of iodine containing foods like kelp and sea vegetables, that our bodies can tolerate the amount that's in one of these capsules. Even up to 2 of these capsules a day, you can take safely. In fact, it's not really been shown that there is an upper limit. You don't need to go crazy with it. Again, Goldilocks zone. So just keep it simple. Take 1 to start with daily. That's what we recommend.
Great. Thank you, Chris. And you can watch, Chris made a video around the KI caps, and then I did the video on the thyroid. So you can watch those short videos that it's in the store. Okay. And I wanted to go over the chakras and an immune system. So when you think about the chakra system and the immune system, you might think, well, what's that got to do with anything? But the immune system is located throughout the body in a network of organs and tissues and cells. So it's basically everywhere. So immune cells in the brain and spinal cord, right? So that's definitely going to be addressing the upper chakras, right? Seventh, maybe eighth, ninth chakras as well, is what I think. And then even the sixth chakra, tonsils, thymus, tonsils in the throat area, it's going to be the fifth chakra, thymus right in the fourth chakra, right at the heart center area. Lymph nodes are all throughout the body. Skin, well, skin's going to cover inside and outside. We're not just talking about the skin that you can feel and see outside, but the skin that lines your entire digestive tracts and mucous membranes. That's the kind of what we're talking about here, and bone marrow. Bone marrow is a huge production of the immune system location, and also the spleen. So, I'm seeing a lot of people having some spleen issues as well. So supporting immune system, even using things like the KI caps and some of the other stuff we're going to be talking about today will be important. But the main one that I wanted to mention is the gut. And gut is the most important section of your basically immune system. So the immune system is located, like I said, throughout your entire body in a network of all your organs and tissues and cells. But where the most amount of immune system you're going to find, or immune cells you're going to find, is in your gut. So when you place your hands right on the belly button area, you have now touched the 80% of your body's immune cells. So if your gut is, creating all kinds of issues with gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, to pain, to indigestions, to gut permeability, all these issues, that's going to impact your Goldilocks of the immune system. It's most likely it's going to irritate it. It could actually throw your immune system into an overdrive as well, or get so under the pressure that it starts to shut down as well. But I'm going to have Chris talk a little bit about this thing called GALT. It's called gut associated lymphoid tissues here.
So this is something that not all of us know much about, other than the fact, if you've heard Masami and other people say this, that about 80% of our immune cells are in the gut region. So this area, this tissue is called gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or GALT for short. And it's these little pockets of lymphatic cells that are distributed all throughout around your small intestine. And so what's interesting about this and why the health of the gut is so important is that if your gut is suffering, if your small intestine is leaky and suffering and inflamed, these GALT tissues are also going to be impacted negatively. So your gut health directly affects your immune health in that sense. And so this is something that you might not also be aware of, but the GALT tissues are actually considered your largest immune organ. And we're going to talk more about another surprising immune organ in a little while, but just keep this in mind as we're going forward, this connection, the relationship between gut, immune health, digestion, because all of these things are connected. And maybe I'll leave it at that for now, Masami.
Yes, and then so because that will lead into this slide. So Chris, you want to go
Yeah.
through what happens in the gut
Yeah.
matters to your entire immune system?
So you've heard us talk about, if you've listened to any of our presentations, you've heard us talk about how important stomach acid is and how poor digestion, low HCl, low hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and low quality pancreatic enzymes or deficiencies is going to be the starting point. And you can think about it in terms of that second chakra, like Masami was talking about, the low Agni. When you don't have enough of these digestive factors, that's low Agni in your stomach and in your upper GI. So when you're having issues there, what happens is you're not digesting your food well, and that starts to lead to issues of inflammation and irritability and dysbiosis. And when that starts happening, it's just this poor digestion of your food starts to snowball. It starts to gain in effect as it goes down through your digestive tract. And so as that's happening, it's causing the irritation and the dysbiosis, and then that's leading to the intestinal permeability. So when we were talking about GALT just a couple of minutes ago, that's those are the tissues that are affected when your small intestine is having that inflammation. So you go from poor digestive function in your stomach. That leads to poor digestion of your food, the maldigestion. That leads to your GI tract being irritated, inflamed, and dysbiosis, overgrowth of bacteria, fungus, yeast, all of that. That leads to the intestinal permeability. And the hyperpermeability is the extreme form of that, where it really starts to affect your whole body, your brain, your cognitive function, pain levels, everything else. And then it circles back. So when you're having that increased permeability in your gut, that's going to down regulate your digestion. So what was poor before now is going to become worse, and it continues this cycle. So this is what we want to really pay attention to help knock out that possibility that we could have persistent colds and viral infections throughout the winter, is by increasing the barrier of hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes in our stomach, because that's actually one of our first lines of defense in our body. Okay, so we want to break this cycle starting with our stomach and our digestion of our foods.
Which we will talk about shortly as well, everyone. And one little side note here about the hyperpermeability, or leaky gut, or you've heard some of these words, right? Basically, you have gut that's compromised, the lining that's been compromised. So the external stuff can enter into your bloodstream. So then the immune system has to go in there and fight or react to certain things. So what I see with the sensitive people or people that I work with, we tend to kind of get into boundary issues around this time, these seasonal changes right now. Okay. This is when we're going to need to get together with your own self, okay, with your collective self, bring all your fragmented self together and say, I need to be clear in my own boundaries. And that's going to get questioned a lot right now. Okay. And then with the super full moon that we just had, that should have questioned you as well. Okay. That spotlighted your gut permeability as well as your boundaries. So the boundary issues are going to show up in your gut. Gut permeability is going to turn and show up in your maybe Swiss cheese like boundaries issues. Okay. So let's go back to not having a Swiss cheese gut. Okay. So that's the whole point of working through this. So if you're getting common colds and things like that, you're basically letting outside, viruses and other things and influencers basically come into your system, and you do not want that. Okay. Chris, are we good to go to the
Let's
next slide?
go ahead. Well,
Okay.
so
So
do you want me to take this one?
it's no, it's okay. And if you want to chime in, it's fine too. The reason why we brought back the optimal collagen at this point is because we want you to rewatch the collagen video as well, because there was just so much information that we shared around how important collagen is. And maybe Chris, you can talk about how much collagen we lose from age 20 and so on and so forth. But one of the things that the collagen does, okay, and it's really kind of surprised me when I started learning about the collagen, is that the collagen can actually help the gut immune health and actually repairs your Swiss cheese like gut issues, okay, gut permeability. That's why collagen is not just for your hair, nails, and your skin and, looking younger and your bone health and all that. Those are great, if you have arthritis, we've talked about that too. But remember that this can help you repair your gut too.
Yeah,
So,
so I put the link for this webinar. Many of you have probably seen this already, but let's just take a second here to revisit a couple of the facts about why we're highlighting collagen here, because all of us get older. Maybe we don't want to believe that, but it happens. And we also have to remember that 30% of our body is collagen, and it's the main structural thing that connects our tissues. So we have to have it. And the thing is, we lose it as we get older. So by the time we're 60 years old, we've lost 50 to 80% of our total collagen that we started out with in our bodies. We just don't hang on to it. It breaks down. And so we lose about 1 to 1.5% of it every year beginning in our 20s. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. This is a very, very key ingredient to build our bodies. And we're going to talk about another factor that collagen is related to in a little bit here. But just keep this in mind. This is why we highlight this so much. And this product is excellent because not only does it have the OSA, which is the bioavailable silicon. So orthosilicic acid is what OSA stands for, but that's like the glue that holds together the collagen fibers that bind our tissues together. So when those are strong, and they're sticky with each other, we have much better tissue structure. And the other thing about this is those three major types that are mentioned on the slide here, 1, 2, and 3, we need those for our joints, our connective tissues in particular. But then these other ones, type 5 and 10, really support type 2, which has a lot to do with maintaining healthy joints and bones. And that's very important as we age.
right. Yeah. So this is why we brought it up, because we do notice a difference when we stop taking them for a little while. I had kind of forgotten about it. I didn't forget about it, but I guess I just kind of like was experimenting with it. So I didn't take optimal collagen for about 2 weeks, and I certainly noticed it. I noticed it in my hair quite a bit, and also just kind of the achiness that started to come back in. So I'm recommitting basically to taking the collagen. And I generally take about 3/4 of a spoon. I don't even take the full spoon full of it, just so you know, the spoon that comes with it. Just so you know, that's how much I take. But we've done a video on it. It's a whole free video, so you can watch it and learn a little bit more about it. Okay, so now this slide, yeah, it's got a bunch of great information in here. I'm not here to try to overwhelm you, but basic recommendations for immune balance. And then this will be recorded, and then you'll get the recording so you can rewatch this part. But I think so important that you pay attention to the nourishing diet, starting with the collagen. So what we mean by nourishing diet is not just eating a bunch of salads. Okay, that is not nourishment. Okay, you need to nourish your tissues. You need to nourish your connective tissues. You need to nourish your bones. So you need to eat things that will nourish all those things. So it's high in, I would say, kind of the vata nourishing foods that I'm talking about. Okay. Good soups with the bone broth and maybe put a scoop of collagen in there. And we'll be talking about the whey protein a little bit later, but always start with a nourishing diet and good digestion, really working on your digestive fire, which we will talk about. I'll give you the examples of what we take for supplements wise, HCl as well. Some of these you've been following our work, you know what's coming up next, right? Pancreatic enzymes, which we'll talk about. So the ones that it's in red, I have some supplements recommendations for that. And basic nutrients like minerals and vitamins are important. Organ supports, I've already talked about the thyroid as part of your supplement that can help you with your immune system, but your thyroid in itself as well. So I do like taking thyroid glandular support for myself regularly. I don't take it every day, but you can listen to the video and see how much I take. I also take supplements that have thymus in it, adrenals in it, stomach in it, and kidneys as well. And the liver support becomes very important. If you did the cleanse, we focused a lot on that, the bioflow. There are supplements that you want to take to help you with that. Blood sugar regulation is really important. If your blood sugar is dysregulated, you're not going to have a balanced immune system. And regular elimination, so going to the bathroom, having good bowel movements, sweating, urinations, breath work. Breath work becomes really important, so that making a sound of ah, and as you're doing you're not just releasing the emotions from the lungs, but maybe things that have been stored deeply, just release that through the lungs. That can be a great way to eliminate. Skin brushing, doing lymphatic flow. I use the lymph flow machines and things like that, those little handheld things, very much every day to support myself, especially this time of the year. And seasonal cleanse and detox. Now you know why that's so important after equinox. Toxic environment in your household. So making sure that the filter is changed in your HVAC system. We just did that. And it's really important that you vacuum a little more regularly, actually, in the winter time because of the dry air, and you shed more skin during this time. So your skin can become the dust accumulation that can get recirculated through your sinuses, and that can cause all kinds of issues as well. And stress, sugar, sleep issues, we will mention it a little bit later here as well. But this is very much connected to how you balance your blood sugar as well, and how important the sleep is. If you're not sleeping, your immune system is going to suffer, right? Your whole body is going to suffer. Your life is going to suffer if you're not sleeping. So we'll talk about that. If you're sitting too much, the sitting is the new smoking in this century, right? So make sure you're standing up every so often, okay? And spend some time outdoors, even in the winter time too, if you can. And if you can, supplement it with some maybe vitamin D, D3. And, it's a little controversial stuff going on right now with the D3, but I do believe that taking some vitamin D in the winter months, along with the magnesium, for some of you, maybe, vitamin K can be very helpful. So look into those things as well. But today we don't have time to go into that detail about vitamin D, but I want to go into the three main supplements that we always, and why do we always talk about it? Is it because, we're stuck on this? Yes, we are, because these are the most important supplements. I just can't tell you how important these things are. You could be adding all these crazy, amazing supplements, but if you're not digesting them, what is the point? Okay. So please watch our video that we did, free video on decluttering your supplements. That's the best video to watch to learn more about it. But we've also created videos on this. You can watch it. Hydrochloric acid, super important for digesting your protein and helping the digestions that come after the stomach. Okay, stomach is the place of digestion, the number one space for it, especially for your protein. But after this, it enters into the upper part of the small intestine, and the small intestine is where you absorb most of the nutrients. So it has to be prepared at the stomach, and usage of HCO becomes super important as we get older as well, especially as women. Okay. And next is the 8X pancreatin. You can watch that video on the store page. This is one of my favorite things to use. That's why I have a lot of smiley faces here, because it's one of my favorites. But pancreatic enzymes are not to help you just digest carbohydrates and support your small intestine. And also, the pancreatic enzyme. So it's a pancreas support as well. But it's also really important for any aches and pains and inflammatory conditions that you're experiencing, from bursitis to maybe arthritis, to any kind of itises that are causing you to have pain. The 8X pancreatin is great to use, but there's a key in how to use it. So do watch that video, short video that I created under the store. Okay, because if you take it with the food, you'll end up digesting foods. But if you take this away from food, it can do wonders in healing your tissues and joints and your connective tissues and other things too. And the third thing that we love is the GB Complete, Gallbladder Complete. GB stands for gallbladder, but this is what makes your liver. And oh no, the gallbladder location needs to go a little more this way, everyone. But I moved the liver and I forgot to move the gallbladder with it. But gallbladder is supposed to go this way. Okay. But your liver and gallbladder's new best friend is the GB Complete. The reason why I like it is that it's got artichoke extracts in there instead of the beet juice in there. So beet juice, there's nothing wrong with using beet juice, by the way. But some of us are kind of getting a little more sensitive. Oh, thank you, Chris, for moving that guy. Did you see that, everyone? He just moved the gallbladder for me. Magic. Okay. So where was I? Okay, so Chris, do you even
That was
remember
the
what the
wrong
I'm
thing
talking?
to do.
Oh, I know the beet juice. Okay, beet juice. Thank God I remember. Okay, so the beet juice can be kind of high in oxalates, everyone. So that can cause you to have a little bit more crystalline structures in your body, right? And it can pull your calcium in and kind of bind with your calcium and create these kind of a jaggedy structures in your joints. And so that can cause some other issues too. So that's why we switched to GB Complete mostly for people that do have gallbladder or don't even have a gallbladder either. Okay. Both of you can use this. Watch the video that I created in the store so you can learn more about it. Okay. So because we love it so much, we just bundle them. Okay. And everyone, for the sale that we're running, you're going to get extra sale price on this one, right? So you get to buy the bundle for 25% off. Oh my gosh, we've never run a sale like that. So please take advantage if you need these trios. Okay. And the next one that I wanted to mention is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier, right? The basics of supporting your immune system. You have to balance your blood sugar. So balance the blood sugar balances your immune system. Without blood sugar being balanced, you are going to struggle with the immune system. So if your immune system is doing much, much better, that's also a sign that your blood sugar is much, much more balanced also. Okay. Some of you have always asked me, how do I balance my blood sugar? Well, you can also look at how's your immune system doing too. So I'm not always a huge fan of, doing things that's like one a day kind of supplements, right? It's one of those cheap one a day supplements that, as much as I love Costco, one thing I do not buy in Costco is their supplements. Okay. I walk right by them and I do not buy those things, but you know how much I love Costco, right? But anyway, so this is kind of a semi multi because it's got a lot of great ingredients that they're synergistic to each other. They support one another to create less dysregulation in your blood sugar and to create more stable energy throughout the day. So I made a video on this as well, but I like to take this more in between meals, just so you know, so that you can balance your blood sugar better between meals, especially like hours between 3 and 4-ish, when you tend to get that little dip in energy when you want to snack on something. That's when you want little caffeine. This is a great supplements to use. Do you have anything you want to add to this, Chris, about?
Well, I mean, just like
I
you
can
said,
go to the next slide,
yeah,
but
this would be one of the core supplements that we would use. This also has some glandulars in it. So the glandular material, that's like the thyroid or the spleen or brain or lung. These tissues have been found to actually move when we ingest them as a supplement. They actually have been shown to move to the tissue that they are like in our bodies and that they are supportive directly of them. And so this is one of the reasons why, if we're going to talk about a couple more that have glandulars in it as we go on here, but CGF is just one. We don't even have to read this whole list for you. It helps so many things systemically that it's one of the most important. And as Masami said, if you are having immune issues, CGF is going to help. If you're having stress issues, which everyone does, CGF is going to help. Blood sugar regulation, CGF is going to help. That's its main job. But blood sugar regulation is one of the primary functions of our body. And if that's out of balance, everything starts to not work well, including our brains, our digestion, our energy levels, sleep, everything else, hormones, etc. So yeah,
right.
we move on because we've got plenty more
Yes,
things
we
to.
have a lot more to talk about. One thing about everyone, when you're taking glandular-based supplements, and if you've worked with me individually, I've always mentioned this I always mention this, is that you want to hold the supplements, and I want you to take a moment and thank the supplement and bow to the supplement, okay? Because the sentient beings have been sacrificing themselves so that the we can use their glands. Okay, so you're not just like blindly taking supplements. This is a gift. This is us using their lives so that we can do good on this earth. Okay, so make sure you pause and notice that. So same with the thyroid supplement I mentioned earlier, and now with the CGF. Okay. Okay, so now I want to go through quickly about the melatonin because we mentioned in the basic things that's so important that we sleep, right? Melatonin, as many of you know, is so important. If you've heard me talk about melatonin in any of my interviews, I say all roads lead to melatonin. So I'm not going to go into crazy details here, but know that if you're menopausal and you're in postmenopause, you will be producing much less melatonin as you age. But the melatonin is now used actually in conjunction with other supplements to help with the bone density, to help with the bone health. So it's no longer just about the sleep. And I do recommend anywhere from about 3 milligrams to 10 milligrams of melatonin. And if you want to take them every day, every other day, that's fine. If you want to use it to help with your sleep, that's great. But it's so important. There's so much function of melatonin, affects release of sex hormones and aids with the immune system and acts as an antioxidant, blocks estrogen from binding to receptor sites that causes you to have too much estrogen in your body, the xenoestrogen issues, and it decreases cortisol levels and helps balance the stress response, helps prevent cancer and treat some cancers, improves mood, improves sleep quality, stimulates the parathyroid gland stimulation. So it's really important for that as well. And it's also helps with the production of growth hormone, which we start to lose as we get older. And it's so important for your cardiovascular health. It decreases other things that could cause you to have heart conditions, heart diseases. So it's very heart healthy and heart supportive, promotes healthy cholesterol levels, regulates skin pigmentation. I mean, oh my gosh, helpful for your jet lag, diabetes, blood vessels, and I mean, so on and so forth. I mean, just like endless, okay, from anxiety issues to your stress level to if you're fatigued, everything you can think of. So think of melatonin as all roads lead to melatonin. Okay. And we've done a video on this under the store, so please check it out. And I want to go into this topic because this is so fascinating and it's so fascinating and too much fascination that the Chris and I went into the rabbit hole with it. And obviously we cannot tell you everything about it, but we decided that we want to teach you the 5 traits and actually do another masterclass on this. So stay tuned to this. We will be emailing you. We will show you how to sign up a little bit later on that because we started going down and down. And oh my gosh, we started to play around with the different personalities of the immune expressions and personality traits and how that impacts your chakras, what breathing techniques you do, maybe what yoga poses will be helpful, what nutrients will be supportive of certain personality traits. It's crazy. It's so fun. So we will be talking about that. Basically, know from this slide that the personality and the immune system are closely linked, and a person's personality can impact their immune function and health. But the immune system also influences personality. So there is this bi-directional relationship between personality and health. So it's a two-way relationship. And knowing this could help us understand how personality affects the development and the course of chronic diseases and how to support your immune system differently. So my personality, as you know, is totally different than Chris's, right? Remember, he's my mud cakes, right? He's my kappa. He gets me grounded. I'm the vata. I am the flying leaves, okay? I'm dried up and in the wind. So it's like how I work with my immune system is going to be very different than Chris's. So that's what we're exploring. So stay tuned to the future masterclass. So the big 5 traits, I want to quickly go over them. So we don't want to put ourselves into only 5 traits or, 5 categories. But, here are the 5 broad personality traits from psychological research that are generally accepted. So let's briefly go into them. And, we have like something like this in Ayurveda. Obviously, in Ayurveda, we created doshes, we have tri-doshes, so we have 3 doshes, but we are all combination of all 3. We are also somewhat combination of these 5 traits, okay? So number 1 is the extroversion. So that's the outgoing, social, and an energetic type. Next is the agreeable and compassionate, cooperative, good-natured. Conscientiousness will be self-disciplined, organized, responsible, diligent. 4th trait will be the neuroticism. So anxious, irrational, self-conscious, and stressed. And 5th trait will be openness to experience. So open, so curious, inventive, flexible, imaginative, and willing. And we do see these traits playing out when we do one-on-one sessions as well, and how your spiritual, like, how do you call it? Spiritual tendencies, maybe inclination to what kind of spiritual practices you like, they play out in the traits as well. And traits like neurotic, so I'll give you a couple examples of immune system here. So traits like neuroticism and hostility that can sometimes kick in with people with that kind of a traits that's like really up in the out in the open can also impact the immune system. And for example, people with a neuroticism is a predictor of antibody response to vaccines, and hostility is associated with producing more inflammatory cytokines. So they tend to go into more of an inflammatory reactions in their immune system. And if you're a little bit more in an extroversion, extroverted, is that yeah, extroverted, right? And positive, maybe like outgoing kind of thing. I'm not saying that they are negative per se, but it's like more outgoing social person, right, can enhance like their immune system's resilience. For example, like they can have a higher lymphocyte counts in older people and lower rate of viral loads. And especially like people that have like HIV or some viral expressions in them, they can actually overcome it a little bit more easily. But there's some other side to this as well that we are learning too. So it's really, really fun how we are like deep diving into this. But some other, Chris, you want to give a little
Yeah, I
examples
just
of
want, well, what I
people?
wanted to say is that what this is maybe just a little teaser for this class we're going to do is that we've gone through these and we've developed supportive ways that each one of these types can have their own set of practices to follow that will be helpful for their mental health, their physical health, their immune health, practices that they can do, meditations that they can do, movements that they can do that actually fit into the research model here, but also that fits into our self-knowledge. Okay. And so one of the things that we'll also do in this class is you're going to have an opportunity to identify which of these is your dominant and which of them is your least dominant, because that's going to have a big effect on how you experience immunity as well as pretty much everything else in life. So we wanted to highlight that connection of immunity right now because this is such a key topic as we're going into this viral infection season.
Right, right. So, we can go into much more details, but basically things like agreeable can be a great way to that person will maybe positively relate to dietary changes or social support and so on and so forth. But that can also backfire on them in some cases as well. And I'll just give you one example of this and we'll move on. But agreeableness of the trait can maybe sink into compassion fatigue also, and that can impact that immune system too. So this is such an interesting topic. So it's big, but a little bit of a just kind of a teaser. This is, you can look into it and start to kind of explore about who you are as well. But one thing that I recommend for all traits right now is doing the alternating nostril breathing. And because of that, I'm looking at the time, I'm not going to go through, you know, this alternating nostril breathing because I would love for you to spend at least 5 to 7 minutes doing it on your own. I'm sure you know how to do this. This is very easy to do. One nostril in and, hold, breathe out of the other nostril. I mean, if you want to complicate it and do the Nadi Shodhana, then that's okay too. But you can look that up online too. But now you can see what the alternating nostril breathing can do for all 5 traits, especially during this fall into the winter season. So this is what I recommend. And we want to go into a couple more things about the muscles as an immune organ. And I don't think many people know this because when we think of immune system, we think of thymus or we think about the gut associated lymphoid tissue that we talked about, the GALT, but the muscle is actually super, super important. So Chris, you want to mention this quickly?
Yeah. So So I want everybody to pay close attention to this because this is particularly important as we age. So, what has been found in the research just in the last few years is that they're calling muscles a metabolic sink. And the reason they call it that is because there's such an excess of energy in the muscles. Most of the energy of the body is actually produced in the mitochondria of the cells in our muscle tissues. And so that's how our body generates heat, generates energy. And this is how we basically stay alive and vital. And so we want to have really strong, healthy muscles because that's another thing that happens is sarcopenia happens. That means progressive muscle loss. We lose a small percentage of our muscles every year, and it really accelerates from our 40s. The decade of the 40s is one strong period of loss, and the decade of the 60s is another really accelerating period of muscle loss. So, and in between, you're having to deal with the issues also. So, if you're in your 50s, even, you still want to pay close attention to this. So that what happens is the other cells of the body, when they can't handle the load that they're dealing with toxins and pathogens and too much sugar in the blood, glucose, they can actually dump it out and the muscles can take it on because they have so much extra capacity to process this stuff because of all the energy they're producing that they can actually help to clean out some of those excess features of the other cells of the body. And then another one to think about is that the organs themselves with this activity that they're doing actually become the largest immune organ in the body. They're that active in the immune function. And so we need to keep them healthy. And this is why we keep coming back to protein. Okay. We need to up our protein. And this is something we can't emphasize enough is that as we get older, we almost have to consume protein in ways that we never imagined necessary. We have to have more protein, not less. And this highlights why stomach acid is so important because you have to have stomach acid to digest protein. So we'll say more about that as we go on here, but we're moving toward to the final stage of our slides here.
Yes, stay tuned, everyone, or stay with us. So for those of you that are going to be ordering supplements through us, you're going to get the PDF. How many pages is that PDF that we created?
It's a
It's like
16,
15.
16 page PDF, and we'll talk about all of the things that we're putting out there in just a few minutes here, but it's a
The six,
16-page PDF about this.
okay, so 16-page PDF is going to go much more in detail about the muscle as an immune organ and why this is so important. And then I just feel like people are not talking about this enough. We're always just talking about immune system as in just kind of in general, but we really need to build our muscle tissues and make sure that they're getting adequate protein. So one of the ways that we do that is through the whey protein isolate. And isolate is the form that you want to use. And that's also described and explained in our PDF as well, why we choose the isolate form, because this is the least like if you have any allergies to dairy, the isolate form will not give you the allergy reactions either. And this is the most digestible form as well as, what is it, cold processed? Is that the
Yeah, so the protein is not denatured. That's a really important thing. And it also doesn't contain the casein, which is what people have allergies to, and it doesn't contain the fat from the dairy source. So you're getting pretty much just the straight protein in a highly absorbable, digestible form that, again, is really absorbable for most bodies.
right? So this is what we recommend and this is what we use. Okay, so let's go over a couple more things about the immune and why I have chosen DIM complex as one of my favorite things to talk about today. Because DIM, you might have heard, is something that helps with the hormones, right? It's to detoxify your hormones. And DIM complex, so DIM isn't, it's um it's derived from basically, and I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce that word. Do you know how to pronounce that word?
I have
I
to
was
read it.
trying
It's
to,
it's it's
yeah.
diindolylmethane. methane. So DIM diindolylmethane methane is the name of this molecular form that does this work of removing xenoestrogens and estrogen dominant um, patterns in our bodies.
Right. And it's a natural compound found in the cruciferous vegetables, everyone. So it's from like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and cauliflower, and cabbage, and kale, and things like that. And so this is the think of it as like an essence of that to help you to balance your hormones. So when the hormones not balanced, right, then your immune system is going to suffer. Hormone levels and the balance can significantly impact the immune system, and hormonal imbalances can lead to autoimmune conditions as well and other inflammatory conditions and cause systemic stress. So hormones that affect the immune system are, it's not all, like more than this, but like estrogen will really impact your immune system. So your immune system is changing as you go into menopause and postmenopause. Progesterone starts to nosedive, everyone, right around 60 years old. So when you work with me and say, oh my God, I feel like I just turned 60 and I like fell off a cliff, I hear this all the time because the progesterone will nosedive, right? So DIM complex is so important in terms of cleaning out some of the xenoestrogen and making sure that the endogenous, your naturally producing hormones can do their jobs, because hormones are basically communicating with different cells. They're the communicators. So if the hormones are not working well and these toxic xenoestrogen is coming in and blocking your communications, and then immune systems are going to be really, really struggling with it. So I love DIM, and I created a video and I even go into how much I love DIM. Okay, so you can watch that and listen to it. And boron is something that the Chris has created a blog page for, and he has done a video for. But what's important is that the boron isn't just for like removing estrogen and a xenoestrogen and a hormone balance, but it does so much more. And I could see, Chris, you want to mention a couple things about
Well,
boron.
I mean, I won't read this whole slide, but the thing about boron is most people have never heard of it. And it's such an essential thing. It's a very minor mineral that our bodies use, and it only needs a tiny, tiny amount of it, but it does need it. And we get it through the soil that vegetables and even meats, it comes through the ground, through the soil from food that animals have and from vegetables we eat. And it's so important for everything from bone support and wound healing and sex hormones for male and female bodies, anti-inflammation, anti-cancer. Supplementing with this is so helpful for so many things. You can see here it helps with magnesium absorption. It's very antioxidant. So it makes other antioxidants that the body makes and gets from food, like superoxide dismutase, that's the SOD, and glutathione. It makes them more effective. So all of these things that boron does, I got a little carried away. So Masami said that DIM was her kind of hero supplement. Boron is mine. And the video in the store, I kind of went on for a few minutes about it and all of the benefits. So you can really learn more about it, but it's a very, very helpful nutrient mineral that our bodies do need, and it's very hard to get in our food supply these days.
Right. I'd highly recommend DIM being used with boron as well.
And I
So
did post the link to the blog article as well if you want to check that.
yes, good, good. So SOS, it's a systemic organ support. I have to put the number one on there too, because okay, I love the DIM, but if I have to choose DIM or SOS, I'm probably going to choose SOS. Okay. I mean, that's how much I love this thing. So I loved it so much when I started taking them. I called my mentor, who has passed this year, by the way. And so it's been a journey and I'm still processing it. I talk to him, and whenever I need some information, I plug in his name in my computer and then his information will pop up. He's taught me so much. But when I started taking SOS, I called him up and I said, why do I love this so much? I said, I can't get enough of this thing. He goes, everybody says that. He's like, I know it's magic because this thing is so magical. I want you to go and listen to the video that I created. Okay. But this has many wonderful glandular support. But what it does is that the glandular supports and the elements that are put together in here, they all work together. And I think that's what I love about this. It's like whole system working together to address your stress, address your immune, addressing the viral issues, bacterial overgrowth issues. It's like coming together, they're supporting together. So it's one of my favorite things. So I love the name SOS. When I'm feeling like I want to send out the SOS, I go and just take them. Okay, so please watch this. And so we love these three items so much. I said to Chris, I said, let's just bundle them and give them the sale price. So that's what we're doing. So SOS, boron, and DIM are now hormone balance bundle. But it's not just the hormones. I want you to listen to those videos and learn about it and really understand why we bundle them together and why we love these three. So these are the three that I actually really diligently take. regularly. So I want you to know that. Okay, so we just have 2 more slides. That's it, everyone. We can do this. Okay, so sympathetic balance. I did a video on this too, so I would love for you to watch, but this is the most complete product available to support autonomic nervous system function, especially when the sympathetic side is dominant and we are going into the holiday season. Okay, this is a tough time. Not everybody's going to be jolly and happy. Okay, it's the holidays are not easy for many of us. So I love using the sympathetic balance this time of the year. Is this the supplement that I use all the time, like that trio that I just showed you? You know, this I use regularly. But the sympathetic balance, I don't use it all the time. But I can tell that I'm coming into the season. That's why I brought it up. Of this changing of the season and in having things kind of come up, things are changing everywhere, right? Politics to economy to social life to, you know, your relationships. This is when you want to support your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system so you are balanced. The key is balance. So please check out the video that I did that on that. And the last one is this. So early on, we talked about CGF. I hope you remember. CGF is a supplement to help you balance your blood sugar. And that has a lot of great ingredients in there. Immune Plus also has the broad spectrum of nutrients in there, and hence the name Immune Plus. This is a great kind of a conglomerate, you know, all kinds of wonderful stuff is in there. How we use it is in the video that we recorded. This does have like NAC in there, right? And N-acetylcholine in there, olive leaf extract in there, and quercetin in there, porcine spleen in there, and you know, I mean, there's so much in there, right? Like wonderful stuff that they've put it together, combined it together, bless this supplement. Always bless this supplement before you take it. But one thing about the Immune Plus is something that I don't take all the time. This is like a twinge of, ooh, I think I'm coming down with something. Or, oh, I got to get on the airplane. Okay. I'm going to go visit my family. Then 2-3 days prior to having to travel, you're going to start taking the Immune Plus. Take a couple of supplements of these Immune Plus before you get on the airplane. And then you can, you know, when you arrive, you can take them, right? That's how I use the Immune Plus. So these last 2 supplements are kind of for that reason. Okay. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm sure there's some questions. Thank you for sticking around, everyone.
Yes, so
And
Masami, before we jump to questions, let's just tell what
Mhm.
we're going to be sharing with
Yes.
everyone this month. So I'll
Do you
put
want to
that up.
share the
Yeah,
screen?
I will put that up and then let's
Do
just
you
do.
want me to share the screen?
No, I've got it. I've got it. All right.
This
So
is really exciting,
yeah,
everyone.
so if you can see what we have here, we just wanted to say that this year we really felt the support from everyone, and it's so important to us. You know, all that we do, so much of it happens in the background. So much of it never is seen, even in these workshops and webinars and calls that we do. And having you show up, having you support everything, buying your supplements, believing in the value of this, and really putting it into practice in your lives, we just wanted to say thank you back. And so this November, starting today, actually, we're going to kick this off from now until December 2nd. And these are all of the things that are happening that we're going to be doing this month.
Yeah, so everybody's going to get the Moon Wisdom PDF. Yay, exciting. Okay, and then let's see. Okay, so free health intuitive call.
This one was the free health intuitive call for all purchasers of Zorex products, because this
Oh,
month
that's right.
we're focused on really giving you the opportunity to have a sale on Zorex products because they never go on sale. And so this was our chance to do this. We've talked about it for the last couple of months. So this is it. And we are offering 15% off of all of your Zorex purchases. And that includes the bundles, which are already 10% off. So you're getting the double discount on our bundles on the store. So that's what this is referring to. So if you're ordering from today through December 2nd, you're going to be invited to do this health intuitive call where Masami goes in and does a really deep Q&A with a number of people during that hour. And it's a really, again, it's been described by some of our viewers as an hour of bliss, because it becomes such a communal connecting experience, and we really get to learn about ourselves and each other through that process. So that's what that is. And importantly, there's no minimum order required. So anything you order from our store will qualify you to be invited into that health intuitive call. And then I already mentioned the 15% off of the supplements. And so you'll want to take note of this here. We're also going to be emailing this out to everyone later, with the replay. So all this information will come out to you by email, but this code thank you 15 is what you want to plug in at checkout. And you can use that as many times as you want. You don't have to do one gigantic order. Throughout this period of time until December 2nd, starting today, you can use this code as many times as you want to get that 15% off plus the extra 10% on the bundles, which are already 10% off. And then the fast action bonus. So this is going to be the thing that Masami was just talking about a minute ago, is for the first 10 people that make an order that comes out to over $100 after you apply your discounts, we're going to do a 1 hour body, mind, spirit, tea and coffee. Okay, a little sit down and just having a little bit more of an intimate conversation with those 10 of you, and just kind of talk about what's going on with us and some of our shared experiences and insights and whatever wants to come up there. But that's going to be a bonus that we're offering for the first 10 that do that. And then the final one we've already mentioned in this call is a 16 page now, because we've added more content since we created this page. It's actually a 16-page PDF that includes a lot of information about taking care of your muscles and nutrients and exercises and activities that you can do, supplements that will support it, as well as recipes that are really good for the wintertime to boost your immune function. And what else am I missing on there? There's a lot of information in that PDF.
A lot, a lot. And it's not one of those PDFs that has a giant images and hardly any information on it. It's literally packed full. I'm sure you've seen those ebooks that you just download and you're like, oh my God, it's like 35 pages of nothing but images, right? That's not what this is. So I think you'll really, really enjoy that. And we probably should have shared this soon, because people are dropping off of the calls now that we're talking about sales. But for those of you that are sticking around, thank you so much, because this is one way that we can say thank you. And this is your way to have the exchange of energy as well. So we appreciate you as well for supporting our work. And as we say, the Zorix doesn't do any sales. So it's actually just coming from us wanting to share this amazing products, and know that the people that formulated, my mentor that formulated these supplements for Zorix, basically formulated the original formulas for standard process and then also biotics. So without him, we wouldn't have these kind of the supplement culture that we have. He was close to 90 years old. I wish he did live till 90, but there's a lot of sadness around this too, but I learned so much from him over the years. So it's to honor him as well. And I wanted to share, I'm sure there's some questions here, but a couple of things in our website, in the store page, everyone. If you keep going down, there are a lot of different things, from complete care spray to EMFs and other things as well. But one of the things that we created is the Sinew spray bundle, right? So you have the environmental protection bundle if you're traveling, and this is very important time of the year to do that. There's a Happy North bundle, so it takes care of your mouth with the clean mouth and Sinew spray and complete care spray plus here. But we've also created immune support bundle here, and we have a video on every single one of these so you can watch them, and a Sinew spray bundle here too. So I actually order a bunch of these this time of the year and use it as holiday gifts, or stuff it in the stockings and things like that to share so that we can all stay healthy. A lot of things enter through our sinuses, everyone, that you want to make sure your nostrils, those openings, are happy and taken care of. So I just wanted to mention that. And of course, don't forget the magnesium, right? We all need magnesium this time of the year because stress does ramp up. Okay. So that's a couple of the things that I wanted to share. If you have any questions, if not, we will wrap up.
So there is one question that came up on the chat earlier, and it was, what if we can't afford all these vitamins you're recommending here? What one or two would be helpful? So you might have noticed we mentioned stomach acid, which we always do. And I also couldn't help but notice that this comment came, at least on my screen, directly under the link that I put up for Decluttering Your Supplements webinar, which is the answer to that question. That is the direct answer to that question. Watch that webinar, because that was the whole purpose of that, was to answer that question. Okay. So go into that and you can actually learn much more detail about some of the ones that we mentioned today, because we always mention some of these like HCl, GB complete, 8X pancreatin, and then also the CGF. We mention those almost every
I
time.
think maybe those four, it's a good place. And then maybe get a sinus spray, I think. So I just want to show you everyone. So we went to the store earlier, right? But if you go to resources, we have a lot of recommended other kind of interesting products there too. But if you go to videos, okay, you're going to find a collagen video there. You're going to find a declutter your supplements, 6 must-have supplements. So if you're wondering, I don't even know where to start. They talked so many about supplements. Okay, then start here and then choose the top 3 that we talk about right there. Okay. And this is for blood sugar dysregulation. We repeat some of the supplements in here. So longer you listen to us, the more you start to notice that we repeat a couple of these key essential supplements over and over and over. There's a reason for that, right? And that collagen video is right here that we recommend you watch. I recommend take your time and watch some of these, but start with the declutter your supplements. I would say that's the #1 video that you want to start with if you just want to know where do I start. Okay. And then there are other supplement calls, that I've done that's in here, the hormone ones, metabolic cleanse ones, the taking care of your hormones one, anxiety, blessings of Mercury retrograde, and so on and so forth. Goes on and on. Okay. And we're going to be adding more. And one thing that I wanted to show you is that if you go to the resources page and if you go to the books, okay, click on the books, you will see iodine book in here, why you need it and why you can't live without it. Okay, so Dr. David Brownstein's book, easy to read. If you want to learn more about the iodine, order it. Okay, it's certainly a self-published book, but it's well written enough, and I keep it in my bookshelves right there, and then I often take it out and then read it over. So that's a really good book to start. If you're new to the stomach acid, why stomach acid is good for you is a great book to get started on. Okay. So, and if you, and during this holiday season, you want to have some blessings in your life and you want to read poetry, of course, we will have to read John O'Donohue, right? He has passed. He left this earth a little too early, in my own opinion. He was in his 40s, but he's left us with beautiful, beautiful blessings. So this is another beautiful book to read. So those are a couple of things that we recommend. I mean, we can add more and more books there too, but I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so that's under the resources, recommended products. Go to the books and you can find, or you can go to other things, okay? But the videos are here, blogs are all here. If you go to the store, you'll find the supplement information, okay? So I hope that helps because, websites can be a little bit tricky, right? It's like you get kind of lost in the, what is it, weeds? Is that it?
Yeah.
So I hope that helps you to kind of navigate where to watch the videos. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Or a couple of questions. So
Okay.
let's just touch on those and then we can wrap up. So Leanne, your question about ordering, you ordered the 8X pancreatin the other day to try, and you'd like to order berberine, HCl, and CGF after hearing about them tonight. Is this too much to take together? Well, you might cringe if you saw how much we take. So the answer to that from our view is no, that would not be too much to take together. And those are actually all very complementary to take together. So especially for what we talked about tonight, to support winter immune health. That's a great combination.
I love that. Is it Al Chan asked, what is Masami's mentor name?
Typed
And
in
you,
his name and yeah,
Dr. Harry Eidner, right? And then Al Chan said, Godfather of functional blood chemistry.
and so many other things, and so many other things.
Absolutely. He was a pioneer and he's touched so many people's lives, including mine. And he was on speed dial, and then my number was on his speed dial because I was talking to him all the time because I love learning. And, if I don't understand something, I read it and I'm just like, I just call him up. I'm like, Harry, I don't understand this. You've got to sit down and explain it. And then we'll be on the call for 2 hours. He was so giving. And so I have so many notes from him. I have so many books that he's put together for me and for all of us practitioners. So it'll continue on. So yeah. And thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope this was helpful. I know there was a lot to cover, but it's fascinating. So, and Chris, you want to tell them where they can sign up for, I can share the screen for signing up for our masterclass that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, that link.
Is not
Let me see if I can pull it up. We haven't 100% rolled it out, but I can put it up there if anybody's interested in signing up. You can sign up here.
So that's the
Basically,
immune personality,
yeah,
right?
this will register you, and then what will happen is once we do the live course, you'll have access for 90 days to the replay in our course platform. Okay, so right now there's nothing more to do than just to register. So I just wanted to make that clear before I share this link, and that's what I just put in the chat. Okay. There was one other question, and this one's a quick one,
Okay.
which was from, let me scroll back up, from Barbara. What was the spray you talked about in the previous call for around $14 that would go on skin and hair? That is the Complete Care Spray. Okay,
Right.
Complete Care Spray. And it's excellent for all of that. It's topical. You can actually put it inside of your mouth. And it's very good for wound healing, anti-infections, as well as for just cleaning surfaces of microbes. So it's a very multi-use spray. Is under C for
Right
complete.
there. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So that's it. And then we even have a video for that, everyone. It's almost like we have an app for that kind of a situation going on here. Okay. So yeah, that's great for any kind of skin issues. I put it inside my mouth before I go into, I just spray inside my mouth before I go to stores and things, but I only go to two places, right? Post office and Costco. Those are the only two places I go. Yes.
All right.
All
So
right. So I think that's it, right?
yeah, Penny just had a question about what was the book again. If you go to, I forget the title. It's by Dr. David Brownstein. It's Iodine, and then there's a long subtitle, what it is and why you need it, or something like that. But you can find that if you click on our resources page at masamicovey.com. Just go there, click on resources, and you'll see at the top of that page books. So there you go. Just click that link and it will take you to a page where you can buy it. That's off of our store. We have
And I think she's asking about the
oh, use that one. The
bless the
John. Oh,
space
yeah. So
between
by the way, if you like poetry and really just kind of deep reflective writing, John O'Donohue is one of the most beautiful writers I think that we could recommend for that.
right.
For any tradition, he's just a very human soul. So yeah, to bless the space between us. Thank you all for all of your kind comments.
Yes,
At the
thank you
end.
everyone for sticking around and learning with us. And we always learn. And I think you're going to find the immune personality fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah. So, all right. So thank you and have a lovely November, rest of the November. And I don't know, all of you are in the United States, but if you are, happy Thanksgiving. And I'm so grateful that you are in my life. You have really blessed me, use the word blessed me, with your presence, but your sincerity. You're one of the most sincere people that gather together. You really are. Like, it's really hard to find sincere people these days, but you step in to your life every day with that clear heart. So I appreciate that very much. So thank you. And Chris, I want you to end this call for us today.
Okay. Well, I think that really the theme of thankfulness is really what we're trying to get across here. And we feel that when you show up and like Masami said, you bring sincerity, which is really lacking in the world today. And so because as you know, we don't skate the surface. We don't do this superficial work. We take this very much into our own being. And so that's something that we know that those of you that have stuck with us, that you have really understood that and are willing to continue that journey with us. So that's where we're most grateful to you and thank you. And we look forward to seeing more of you. We still have a couple more things to happen. We have this class coming up in December, and then we are going to do our annual waymaking. We've decided at the end of December, just before the new year. So this will be our, how many times have we done it? I think this is our 5th time now to do this.
Right. 5 years. We'll do it. So we'll see you very soon. Happy Thanksgiving and take your HCO if you're eating turkey. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.